to go over the integration of the Amazon Dash button with SmartThings. For those of you who do not know what the Amazon Dash button is, it's a simple little device with a single button. Amazon sells it to allow you to press it and basically automatically order or reorder new items. But we're going to actually take this device and configure it so that when you press that button, it actually turns on or off a switch or virtual switch in your SmartThings home. So to get started, let's refer to the post for the Amazon Dash button that I put up earlier this week. Talks a little bit about what the capabilities of the Smart App is, some of the requirements, installation steps for the Smart App itself, and then there's some FAQs. So the first thing that we should do is make sure that we meet the requirements for this integration. So the first one is well, I guess the first one is obviously that you have a SmartThings hub, and then the second thing is that you have an Amazon Dash button that has not been configured. We are not going to completely configure the device. If you have an Amazon Dash button that has been completely configured and you are using it to order, you cannot use that button. We need to we'll actually have to pick a different button. I guess you could actually use it, but you'll be ordering whatever you've set it up to order, and we don't necessarily want to do that. So a new Amazon Dash button, and the second thing is a host target machine or device where we can actually run the SmartThings Node Proxy. So SmartThings Node Proxy is a Node.js service that runs on a host machine 24/7, and it will actually, in this case, for the Dash button, run a plugin that will monitor the network and will actually capture the button presses and pass those on to SmartThings to be able to turn on or off that switch. So once we've verified these requirements and dependencies, we can move forward. So let's actually skip this installation piece right here, because this assumes that you already have the SmartThings Node Proxy and the Dash plugin installed and configured on a machine, and we're actually going to start from scratch. So if we go down here to the FAQ, it says, what do I need to do to get this running? We're going to forget about SmartThings for a second. We're going to get the SmartThings Node Proxy set up and running, and then we will come back. And so for today's tutorial, I've actually picked up a new Raspberry Pi W0, a pretty cool little device you can pick up for 10 bucks and run that 24/7 and run SmartThings Node Proxy on it with the Dash plugin and others if you so wish. So we've got our device, and so the first thing we've got to do is make sure that we get Node.js running. So you can go to the Node.js website to actually download Node.js, and we're actually going to do that as well. But if you're installing this on the Raspberry Pi, I would highly recommend you read this blog post at the Open Source Hardware Lab. It's got some steps here that actually show you how to remove the prepackaged binaries that come with Raspbian and actually get the latest version of Node.js installed and up and running. So let's connect to our Raspberry device. And once we're connected, we can actually run these commands. Now note that these commands are going to run much faster because of the fact that I've already gone through these steps. So I don't have the prepackaged binaries installed anymore. Now, if this is your first time running this, it's going to take a little longer. So we remove all of the prepackaged binaries, and then we go down here to actually, there's this little update that pertains specifically to the Raspberry Pi Zero, and so we're going to actually follow these steps. And so it says to basically get this this distribution of Node.js, but this is an older version. I don't like that, so I'm going to get the latest version. So I'm just going to hit on current latest. I'm going to pick ARM v6. That's for the Raspberry Pi. I will copy the link, and then I will go to my downloads directory, and then I will do the wget, and I will download it. And once it's downloaded, we will unpack it, and there we go. And once it's unpacked, we need to copy it over. Okay, let's go into our node directory, and then we will execute this command. That will copy everything over, and then when that is done, we will reboot the Raspberry Pi. Okay, now the Raspberry Pi should be back. Let's get back in and proceed with the installation. Okay, so we rebooted, everything should be there. Let's check, let's just do it node-v, and we see that it is. Bingo. So now let's go here and see what's the next thing. Okay, so the next thing it says to download SmartThings Node Proxy. And so SmartThings Node Proxy can be downloaded from GitHub. I think there's a link up here somewhere. Yep, right there it is. And so what we'll do is we will, where are we? We will go here and we'll just click on this clone or download link and we will pick download zip, but we will copy it because we're actually terminaled into the Raspberry. And then let's go back into our downloads directory, and then we'll do another wget and then download the repo. Once the repo has been downloaded, okay, it says we should create a subfolder. So let's go to here. So okay, now that it's downloaded, let's unzip it. And it unzipped it. And so now we can go into SmartThings master, which is the entire GitHub repo. And all we really need is this folder that says SmartThings Node Proxy. And let's actually move it out somewhere. So let's actually move SmartThings Node Proxy. Let's move it out to, I like putting it in home. So we'll put it in home. Okay, so it's going to ask me to do this. So we'll do like SmartThings Node Proxy, and we'll put it in home. And now we should be able to go to home, and we should see it there. There we go. So now let's actually move this. Let's rename it. So I don't like this long name, so we'll do SmartThings Node Proxy. And now we've got a shorter name, so now we can go in. And first thing I like to do is remove these files that we don't need. Like SmartThings Node Proxy service. I mean, you could use them, but I'm not going to use them now. And then we'll remove this restart me. And then I think we're pretty good. Yep. So now the next thing, if we go back to the post here in the forum, in the SmartThings forum, we'll see that it says to move dash.js from available plugins folder to a new plugins folder. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll create a plugins folder, and then we will move from available plugins to the dash plugin. So note that there are various different plugins available. So if you do have a Rust sound controller, zone controller, or a monoprice one, or an alarm system, or various different things that you cannot connect natively into SmartThings. The SmartThings Node Proxy platform with the plugins allow you to connect to other devices or other systems that may exist in your home. So let's move that in. And so now if we look at our plugins folder, we should see that the dash plugin is in there. Perfect. So now let's go back to the instructions, and the next thing it says is to copy the contents from config.json.sample and put them in JSON-mate. So the next thing is actually configuring our config file for SmartThings Node Proxy. So if we take a look at the config.json sample, we'll see there's configuration parameters here for all the various different plugins. Now we don't need everything, so what we're going to do is we're going to copy out just the pieces we need. So if we go here to JSON-mate, which is a great little tool to make sure that your JSON is actually formatted well, we can just copy and paste the pieces that we need in. So we need the port, we need the auth code, we don't need the Rust sound piece, we don't need the monoprice piece, we don't need the Invisilink piece, nor the alarm decoder piece, but we do need this Amazon-button piece. So we'll copy this one as well. And let's go here and we'll paste it, and then we will close it. And then the next thing we've got to do is remove all these comments. So let's remove the comments. If you leave those comments in, it will not work. Okay, so now we got our port. You can set the port number that you want the SmartThings Node Proxy to listen on. The auth code, and this is just to provide some security between the Smart app talking with SmartThings Node Proxy, and then this is our dash button configuration block. And so you can list as many dash buttons as you want. Just make sure that they are enclosed in double quotes and they are comma delimited. But we only have one that we're going to test with today, so we will delete that. We'll just leave one. And we also want to force the SmartThings Node Proxy, the Dash plugin specifically, to go into discovery mode. So let's put a -X right there, just to force, again, the SmartThings Node Proxy to put the Dash plugin into discovery mode so that we can identify or discover what the MAC address is, what the address is for our Dash button. Okay, so now once we've got it like this, let's just hit beautify, make sure that it's okay. If there's a problem, like let's say for instance, there was a missing closing brace right there, and we hit beautify, then it would say that there's an error. So this tool actually checks, this tool actually checks to make sure that your JSON format, the format of this data block, is actually correct. So then we can copy that. And now what we'll do is we'll actually create our new config JSON, and then we will insert that, and we will save it. And now let's go back to our instructions. Okay, so we moved it. Okay, so we copied this. So we created the config.json. Okay, we created it. And then it says copy the contents out of the config.json, force network to server. Oh yeah, okay, so in the instructions, I say just remove it, but if you just put an X or some other character there, it will actually trick it to thinking that it's not available. Okay, so the next step is to actually run this command sudo apt-get install libpcap-dev. What this does is installs a dependent OS library that's required in order for us to do that network sniffing. So again, I already ran this command, so it ran through quick, but this will take a little time. So now let's go here, and then it says now do an npm install. So let's do an npm install, and this is going to install all of the dependent libraries for SmartThings Node Proxy. Okay, once the npm install is done, we can move on to the next step, which says let's fire up server.js. Now, the important thing here to remember is that we've got to run server.js as sudo, as super user privileges, and this is required in order to do the network sniffing. If we don't run it with sudo, then we will not be able to listen for the button presses from the Amazon Dash button. So let's see if we can fire this up and see what happens. So we run that, and there we go. So it started up, and it says that it did not find the configuration settings for the Dash button, and that's okay. And because now it flipped, it turned on discovery for Dash buttons on the local network. And this is going to run for 60 seconds, and then it will stop. And so what we can do now is actually go and get our Dash button, and then start this up again, and then hit the button and see what happens. Okay, once we've got our Dash button, what we need to do first before we actually press the button is set it up. So if you go to the Amazon website, there's a link here that says learn how to set up the Dash button. You just click that. And so basically, in a nutshell, what you've got to do is you have to set up your Dash button device from the Amazon app on your smartphone. So you fire up the Amazon app on your smartphone. On the left-hand side under menu, under account, you locate the Dash devices. So you find Dash devices under your account, and then you select set up a new device. And then it will actually fire up a wizard that will connect to your device and to the Dash button device and begin the registration process. And one of the first steps is actually getting your Dash device connected to your Wi-Fi. And so again, that wizard will take you through connecting your Dash button device to your Wi-Fi network. You just have to make sure that the Wi-Fi network that you're connecting your Dash button device is on the same network as where you are running the SmartThings Node Proxy. Because if your SmartThings Node Proxy is running on a different network than your Wi-Fi network, then it will not be able to detect the button presses from the Dash button device. So you'll go through, set up, connect your Dash button device to your Wi-Fi, and then when you get to the screen or the part of the setup process that says select the products that you would like to reorder with your Dash button device, at this point in time you just want to X out. You want to cancel out. You do not want to move forward, because if you move forward, then when you press the button, you're actually going to be ordering something from Amazon. And we don't want to be using this button necessarily to order something. So when you get to this step right here, just make sure that you hit the X and you exit out of the dash button setup process, because we've got it configured, attached to your Wi-Fi, and we will then be able to listen for those button presses. Okay, so once you finish that, then you can go back to your SmartThings Node Proxy, and what we can do is we can fire it up again, have your dash button device handy, and hit enter. And what you'll see is that it's going to fall back into discovery mode, and then what we'll do is we'll press the button, and then you should see something pop up here. Boom, there we go. So it says address and protocol, and so this address right here is what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to copy it. And then what we can do is we can wait like 30 seconds or so, and then we can press the button again and see if it's the same, if we see the same address here. Okay, so I waited more than 30 seconds and it completed the discovery, so it finished the discovery process. So what we should do is we can actually stop the service and then start it up again. It'll go back into discovery mode, and then we'll press the button again just to make sure that we've got the right address. So I'm going to press the button, and when you see it start blinking white, then we know that it's connecting to the Wi-Fi network, and it's trying to and then that's when SmartThings Node Proxy will actually see the device. So it is the same exact address, so we can copy this, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put this address in our config.json file. So let's exit out of here, and let's go back to our instructions and make sure that that is the next step. So we did sudo, and then when we ran the service, it went into discovery mode, we pressed the dash button, and we recorded the address. So now we're going to go into our config.json. So let's go into our config.json, and there is the address. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to delete this out, and then we're going to add in the address that we just copied. There we go. So that's the address we just copied. So now we can save it. And if you want to make sure, you can copy this and put it back into JSON-mate, and then to make sure that the format of the config.json is correct. And one thing I forgot is that we actually have to remove this X, because if we don't remove the X, it's going to think that the dash button configuration is not in the config.json file, and it will continue to go into discovery mode. So let's actually delete this X. There we go. Now it's deleted. And then we will save it, and then we will go back. And now we can actually see what's the next step. So we added our config.json. We added in the MAC address for the dash button device, and now we're ready to go. So let's fire up the service. So we will run it with sudo. We got to run it with sudo. I just realized that I did not put sudo here. So we run it with sudo, and we see that it loaded the plugin, but it did not go into discovery mode, and that's because there's an address. So it detected the configuration for the dash plugin, and now the SmartThings Node Proxy service is running and fully functional. And so now let's move over to setting up the Smart app. So the first thing that you got to do is go into, if we go back up here to the instructions for installation. So we've got our SmartThings Node Proxy running with the Dash plugin. It's installed and it's configured. So we set up our Dash button. We've got the MAC address for the Dash button, and we've registered it with the SmartThings Node Proxy. So what the third step is to actually get the source code for the Smart app and create a Smart app within the SmartThings developer portal. So log into the SmartThings developer portal, take the source code from GitHub for the Dash button Smart app, put that in there, save it, publish it. Once it's published, then that Smart app will become visible within the SmartThings app on your smartphone. So let's fire up the SmartThings app and complete the configuration here. Okay, so once we've got the Smart app installed, we should be able to go into the SmartThings app on your smartphone and tap on Add a Smart App. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom where it says My Apps, which is it's blocked, but it was at the it's outside of that screen, you'll see all of the Smart Apps that you have created or that you've added and published to yourself. And so there, right there, we see the Dash button, a Smart app. And so if we select it, we can actually go through and complete the setup. Okay, so I've selected my home hub. I've put in the IP address for the SmartThings Node Proxy. That's the port, that's the auth code, that's secret-key. If I want to receive a push notification or a text message when a button is activated, yes or no, and then we can go ahead and add a button. And then here we've got to put in the MAC address that we had copied or that we had specified in our config.json. So I'm just going to add that in here. And E0. And then I'm going to pick the switch that I wanted to control when I press the button. And for today's example, I'm going to pick the audio zone in my office to actually be able to turn it on and off. And then I will hit done, and then done. And then we see that the button has been added. And then I can hit done, and now it's ready to go. So now the next step will be to actually press the button and actually see something happen. Okay, now that we've set up the Dash Button Smart App, we're ready to go. So what I'm going to show you guys is I'm going to actually show you the device. So there's the audio zone in my office that we're going to turn on with the Dash button. And let me actually move this over here so you can actually see what happens, oops, when this thing gets clicked. And then we will make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so now we're ready to go. We see that the SmartThings Node Proxy service is running. We see that the zone is off, and I'm going to press the button. I press the button. We see the white light flashing. We saw that it discovered or captured the event from the Dash button. We saw the notification push message pop up at the top of the smartphone screen, and we see that the audio zone turned on. And now if we wait a few more seconds maybe, we can press the button again and see the zone, see the actual switch turn off. So again, we'll press the button. We see the white light flashing. We should see the address show up. And there, boom, and there it is. It says the button was pressed. We see the push notification message and the zone was turned off. And that completes this tutorial. Feel free to add as many dash buttons as you want. I splurged. I bought about 8 or 10 dash buttons, and I'm going to hook them up all over the house and leave them in places to be able to control lights and audio zones and set the alarm and do different cool things. I hope you enjoy.